With the launch of Path of Exile into early access just being days away, the fresh information keeps rolling in. Now, yesterday we got an awesome interview with Zizaran and Jonathan Rogers of Grinding Gear Games that brought us some fresh information on what's to come in Path of Exile 2. Before we jump into the interview, GGG also announced that there would be a pre-download available for early access on PC. Of course, it's already available on Xbox. It's going to be available on PlayStation 24 hours before launch. And we now know that a pre-download will be available for PC if you use the Path of Exile standalone launcher. So all players should be able to pre-download the game and be ready to go to hit the queue the second the servers go live. Now, Zizaran's interview yesterday is well worth a watch. It's a little over 90 minutes. If you have the 90 minutes time, I will put a link to it down in the description below. I do encourage everyone to head on over and check out the full thing. However, I did go through the entire stream to isolate a few key moments that I thought might be important to players in the game. First things first, there was talk about stash tabs and what will happen with stash tabs that you currently own for leagues that are not yet in the game.
Yeah, so currently you don't get anything, and basically that's because we still want to be able to potentially add that content later, and then at that point that tab will be, for that league. So if we gave you something now, then we'd have to, I guess, read only the other. If we gave you a bonus tab now, we'd have to give you a read only one or something like that. And effectively, the main thing is that we're trying to just make it so that where it makes sense, the thing you bought before will work. I think that for the particular one you mentioned there.
Yeah.
I suspect that in the future there'll be a time when that will work again, and so you're kind of going to be good in that regard.
Okay.
But I guess it might be it is worth bringing up though that if we get to the point of literally we're never going to use this ever in POE2, I suppose we could consider having a replacement tab for something like that. But at least for the time being, we still intend that a lot of that stuff still gets used anyway.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I, for one, have always failed miserably at playing hardcore. However, one thing that hardcore players were concerned about is will they be locked into these all-or-nothing boss fights? Particularly for your first time through, you don't know what to expect with a boss. You don't want to have to over-prepare for it. So you will be able to jump in and kind of get a feel for the boss, particularly for your first time, and you do have an out.
Trying to make sure that you don't lose your place when you're just playing, right? And you disconnect for a reason.
Yeah.
But if you want to choose to leave the fight, you can decide to do that. That is okay. And just another thing with that, by the way, is I believe that the feature where if you lag, that the game gets paused, I believe that did get done, which means that even if you just have internet lag, the actual server will pause while the lag is happening. So then, regardless of whether you get disconnected or not, you're not going to die during the middle of an internet lag spike. And
Okay.
I believe that it might be 100 milliseconds or something like that. Is basically if your client's not responding for that amount of time, then effectively the whole instance just pauses and we'll just wait until you're good before we keep going again. So that's how that works basically. But yes, you can leave.
Yeah. So could you walk me through the difference real quick? So will I have to log out and wait 15 minutes, or will it be hitting escape and then clicking leave fight?
Yeah, so if you hit escape, there's a button there called respawn at checkpoint, and effectively that will just mean that you can, at any time you can choose to do that.
I, for one, am a big fan of poison and bleed and ignite builds, so stacking ailments was important to me, and that was a topic in the conversation. Let's see what Jonathan had to say.
How does stacking ailment works for stacking multiple of the same?
Right. So effectively, so in general, ailments don't stack, right? In order to get the ability to stack them, there has to be some kind of mechanic you're getting.
Yep.
Usually that mechanic will have some kind of that mechanic may have some kind of explanation for any specific details you have to be aware of. But I guess the main thing to understand is that if you're doing something like stacking poison, the way that works is that all of the poisons that you do will always be on the monster.
Yeah.
And they're all running. But if you've got the ability to stack 2 poisons, then whatever the 2 largest poisons that you currently have that are on there, those will be the active ones. And then when one of those falls off, then the next largest will take its place effectively. So that kind of means that that's kind of, I believe, sort of generally how the like buffs work in PoE, where you've got like, you know, what if you can have multiple buffs on a thing, but only one of them is active at a time. So in the case where you're allowed to have more than one, it's just effectively whatever the highest N buffs are that are on the character, that's the ones that you get effectively.
Cool.
Support characters are always a big part of a team in most ARPGs as we know it to create like OP combinations with your group of friends. Support characters were discussed as well, and this will be the take that we should expect in early access.
A lot of people are curious about support characters and how they fit into Path of Exile 2 for those that want to play with their friends and make OP combos together.
So I would say it's sort of interesting, right? Because what we don't have is the support character in the way that PoE1 had it, where it was like just a literal kind of AFK. Well, not, you know, you walk around behind them, you don't really do anything. So I would say that like for that, like we still have things like that. Like you've got scepters and stuff like that that can give people bonuses. But I would say that support characters in PoE2 are more along the lines of like I'm debuffing monsters actively, or I'm setting up things that are that don't need to worry about the damage in order for someone else to take advantage of them. These kind of things. So like you can make a support character that's going to like ultra slow all the enemies. You can make a support character that will do things like place objects that other people can use, or for example, like make a character that's like armor breaking lots of monsters so that other people can take advantage of that, things like that. So I'd say that like that's kind of the role of that kind of stuff more. But what we don't have is just like I just reserve everything and like, you know, I'm just like an aura, like just a bunch of auras on my character, and that's kind of all I'm doing. So that's the kind of thing that we don't really have in the same way.
There was also a discussion about reward versus difficulty, particularly regarding with how you will juice your maps when you're playing through into the in-game in Path of Exile 2.
It's a very different situation in PoE2 than PoE1 for this stuff, because the rewards from difficult mods are not necessarily like the rewarding part of the map mods, because we've got the thing with the prefixes are like the rewards mods, and the suffixes are the like bad mods. It means it's kind of separated those two things out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now there is still a thing where the harder mods have waystone drop rate increases on them, and so I believe I believe that the harder mods there do affect that, but I don't think that is like quite so much of a big deal compared to how it was in PoE1, where like the item drops were heavily changed by that stuff. So like I don't know that, like, as I said, it's a very different situation. Now it's this is one of those things that I'm like, I really hope it works, but I don't know if it will. So I guess we'll sort of have to see. Like the dynamics of what people choose to roll and how people respond to that are going to be very interesting. I guess we'll just see how that goes. But what it does mean, at least with the current way the system works, is that it doesn't matter quite so much what the numbers we choose for how difficult those things are relative to like the rewards they give, because as I said, the rewards being given are mostly from the prefixes anyway. So yeah, I guess that's kind of related to that.
Another important thing that came up is the ability to respec. This is an early access, so with that in mind, there will be changes throughout early access and many updates. GGG has said that their target goal is to have a monthly update throughout the course of early access. So what happens if there's a major change and it bricks your build in early access? Well, just like in Path of Exile now, you will be able to respec for free.
Are there going to be free respecs during the EA if there's a big enough change? Like right now, if there's a huge seal tree change on standard, you get like the free respec.
Yeah.
Because
I'd say it's probably going to be the same as that effectively. Like when we do a big change, everyone will get a free respec, and it'll work that way pretty much. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Somebody was particularly concerned because if it's respecing, is it only gold or do you have silver gray orbs? I can't remember.
No regret anymore. It's just gold.
Yeah. So the guy I was asking was what if a big change happens and your build is bricked and you've just used your gold? You just log in and you're like, ooh.
Cool. Generally speaking, it'll be that the big patches that do the big balance stuff, we should get some. Now that being said, like I'm not going to say that every single there will probably be patches where we nerf some particular thing, and then that could hurt certain characters like that. That'll probably happen.
Yeah.
Just because I'm hoping not, but you never know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that might then cause a situation where you don't have a free respec for that reason. Yeah. Because what we don't have the ability to do is like targetedly respec like certain builds or anything like that. Like so it's effectively all or nothing. So because of that, the like it would have to be a more global change to, like, oh look, we've redone the skill tree in various ways, and then we'd probably do it.
And then one of the really coolest additions coming to Path of Exile 2 is the ability to socket everything. So you will be able to link even your ascendancy skills that you get. And how exactly will that work, and how many sockets will you get for these ascendancies?
Another question from the community is, we've learned that ascendancies and items can be supported. So a logical follow-up is, how many sockets do those start with? Do ascendancy skills starts with 5 sockets, and do items with skills show you how many sockets they have?
So if you have stuff that's inherent to your character, so that is to say, like and ascendancy skills do count as that, or things like so for example, default attack being also a supportable skill. These things get sockets based on your character level. Now, I don't remember what the level is that you get. It's like late 80s. That's the one where you get 5 sockets for all of those things. But effectively, as you level up, you'll get more sockets for that stuff. The ones that are inherent to items, those ones get sockets based on the eye level of the item. So effectively, a higher eye level base, if that base comes with a socket, that high level eye level base will have the thing. So I don't know if the trade site will show it correctly yet or not, but it is based entirely on eye level, which you can see. The trade site needs that will probably take some time to fully be like 100% like every single thing about it looking exactly the same as in game, just because there's like a whole bunch of work there. But we definitely want to make sure the trade site at least shows you everything that you sort of need to know. So awesome. I don't know whether or not they will be showing the sockets in that are in skills in gear, and I have a feeling it probably won't, because I know that skills in general on the trade site are kind of like a bit like because there's like a ton of work to make them work the same as in game. I think we're just going to be showing like names and levels, so it probably won't show the sockets on the site, but you can know that effectively there's just certain eye levels that the item is that when it does that, and then later on we'll like improve support on the trade site and get everything rendering exactly the same as in game, and then that'll be fine. But there certainly should be nothing on the trade site which you can't know about something that's important for trade, at least.
So like all of you all, I am super, super excited about Path of Exile 2. I can't wait to get in and get running, and I am very much looking forward to this Friday. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in game.